Hello, welcome to a new boxing video. This is reviewing Miguel Cotto's career. So tonight or early tomorrow morning in the UK, Miguel Cotto is finally having his final fight of his career for the WBO Light-Middleweight title. And of course, it's like, as I said, the last fight. So I thought this video would be sort of like a good idea to do like a review of his career. I mean, to be honest, I started watching boxing in around sort of 2007, and I think the first major fight I watched was Ricky Hatton vs Floyd Mayweather, like I said, which was 10 years ago, so 2007. And since then, obviously, I've watched boxing quite a lot. And obviously, I'm still learning about new fights and stuff, and history and all that type of stuff. But there's been many fighters I've sort of followed a lot or wanted to know about their fights and stuff. There's only sort of a few particular people. Of course, you've got the Floyd Mayweathers, you've got the Manny Pacquiao's and stuff, which is of course a bit like obvious because they're big, high-profile names. But Miguel Cotto, I always felt was sort of gone on the radar, kind of, because I know he's got a big following. He's got a Puerto Rican background and stuff. He's got loads of fans, and he's been one of the more high-profile fighters of sort of my generation, I guess, if you want to call it that. But I always felt that he sort of doesn't really get sort of spoken about in the same sort of regard as the Pacquiao's and the Mayweathers and stuff, and because I know people are going to say he has lost a lot of his big fights, which is correct, and on the flip side, people are always going to say that he hasn't got one of those like high quality wins against the bigger people in the sort of later part of his career, which is again correct. But the reason why I'm doing this video is because I just want to sort of talk about why I like Miguel Cotto, his good points, his bad points, and why he was great to watch. So, like I said, I watched boxing from 2007 onwards. At the time, Miguel Cotto, just as like a summary of 2007, he was WBA welterweight champion, and that year was great. I mean, he had two notable fights of sort of like a high-profile names, Zab Judah and Joe Mosley. And back then, I didn't really have like a laptop or something or like that sort of thing, so I wasn't looking in that obviously regularly because it was a bit of a different time, as everyone knows. So I didn't know about the rankings and stuff and all that sort of thing, and so I wasn't really like, aware of all that type of area. But at the time, obviously, that was a good win for Miguel Cotto, undefeated. Then he went on to face Antonio Margarito. Everyone was rapping to that fight. First professional loss. Then, of course, Margarito had his issues with his hand wraps. And from there, Miguel Cotto sort of went up and down for a couple of years. Like he beat, I think, Michael Jennings for the vacant WBO welterweight title. Then lost to Manny Pacquiao. Then he faced Yuri Foreman for the WBA Light-Middleweight title, and lost to Floyd Mayweather. So sort of, then he lost Austin Trout. So sort of like from that sort of 2007, that was like a really good like sort of point. From 2008 to about 2012, he was in some really high-profile fights, good and bad, but he come up short in a lot of them. I know the Margarito fight, of course, he was cheating, so it doesn't really sort of count as a loss, even though it technically does. Pacquiao fight, I just think he was the wrong place, the wrong time. Manny Pacquiao was in his prime years in that stage, and I think, as you saw, a lot of people who probably would have given him trouble in a different time period just got absolutely crushed. So you can't fault Miguel Cotto by saying he never fought any elite fighters, because he's fought. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and like I said, I was unaware of some of his opponents, but like the main names, like you got Paul Malignaggi in 2006. Zab Judah and Shane Mosley 2007, Tony Margarito 2008, Manny Pacquiao 2009, and then you've got 2011 you've got Tony Margarito rematch, you got Ricardo Mayorga in early 2011, and you've got Floyd Mayweather, Austin Trout, and then you've got sort of slightly less than that, Devin Rodriguez and stuff. Then you've got people like what was his name? The Australian guy. I can't remember his name now. It's gone from my mind. But people know who I'm talking about. The Australian middleweight, when he beat Sergio Mendes in 2014 to capture the middleweight title belt. The guy he fought when he's under defence of the belt. I just can't remember his name, but people know who I'm talking about because he's faced Miguel Cotto, Gennady Golovkin as well. So and then obviously he had a sort of layoff because he just wanted to get into the tail end of his career. So Miguel Cotto, yeah, obviously he lost a lot of those big fights, but you can never say he turned his sort of away from any of the bigger fights, because he never did, and that's what a true fighter should do. I don't like this sort of nowadays where you see and hear about all these rumours, and sometimes they don't get made. Like, look at classic case in point. I mentioned this many times in my videos before. Floyd Mayweather Manny Pacquiao fight, obviously the iconic fight of my generation, or for the last like 20 so years in boxing. That should have got made years before, never did. At least Miguel Cotto stepped up when he was required to, and he actually fought them. Sometimes like people can make the argument that oh, Miguel Cotto is not a sort of top quality fighter because he always lost. He's sort of like this B-level, sort of higher B's / lower A-class level fighter, because he didn't force or beat like an elite name like a Pacquiao, like a Mayweather. But I say to that, I think that's wrong to say that, because Miguel Cotto, you can take credit for going in there, give him his all. It's not like Miguel Cotto went in there and all those big fights he got absolutely annihilated because he sort of showed lack of heart, lack of determination, lack of will. Manny Pacquiao fight, he got absolutely annihilated in that. He lost majority of all the rounds, got knocked down twice as well. His face absolutely destroyed, and he kept going even though his corner wanted to take him out. Margarita rematch in that. The podcast I listened to the other day, they were saying about there was like a referee was seeing Cotto taking some damage as well, which is correct. Margarita did land some shots, but of course Cotto was a much better fighter that time around. The Mayweather fight, like, he won a lot of those rounds. Not a lot of them. He won like a sort of specific parts of the fight, and he gave it his all. It's not like Miko's ever lost that I've seen, and he's been taken apart. Canelo Alvarez, for example, 2015 middleweight title fight. Yeah, obviously Alvarez was a fresher, better fighter on the night, but it's not like Miguel Cotto got absolutely outboxed for the whole 15 rounds. He had no determination, no will, because he was there from start to finish. And that's what I think why Miguel Cotto is one of my favourite fighters and one of the most interesting fighters I've ever watched, because he's always going to be interesting. You know it's not going to be a lackluster fight. It might end early, might go the whole 12 rounds, but you have to give him a credit as due, and he's done exceptionally well in his career. I think it's 6 belts in 4 weight classes. I think the early time I watched him was, like I said, sort of 2008, late 2007. But I've rewatched some of his older fights, like the Manlaji fight, where he absolutely decimated Manlaji's face, and that was a great fight because Manlaji was up and coming then, and it was closer than people say, because before I watched it, a lot of people said, oh, Miko just destroyed this guy, blah blah blah. But when I watched the fight, it was a bit more closer in my opinion. Yeah, he did destroy Manlaji's face, but still a really good performance. And I think the earlier version of Miguel Cotto was better than the later version, because, like I said, after 2007, bit of an up and down sort of like yo-yo career. Like, yeah, he captured world titles and stuff, and yeah, he had some big fights, but he lost the majority of them, like I said. And he did have like a sort of, one moment he'll lose a couple, then he'll win a few, then lose a few. So sort of sometimes when you lose your first fight, it can sort of like just like give you an imbalance in your career. Well, I think Miguel Cotto did well, and like I said, it was his heart, determination. The body shots were always really good in his sort of early part of his career, from what I can remember. He sort of changed his style as well, and he knows with Freddie Roach, of course, the trainer of Manny Pacquiao. I think they should have teamed up maybe after the probably after the Pacquiao fight. I know that's a bit of a too quick of a turnaround, but because he only fought once in 2010 against Yuri Freeman at light-middleweight, then he fought obviously with Conor Mayorga and Tony Margarito. Yeah, obviously he got over those 3 wins, and he still would have got those wins anyway with Roach. But I do think for other fights he could have prepared better, like the Mayweather fight. I remember there was HBO 24/7 build up for that. I watched that from the first episode to the last one. Watched the fight as well live on my laptop and that back in 2012. And Miguel Cotto had some real good success in that fight, like I said. But there was a few points where, like, if Freddie Roach, who's known for a bit more attacking, aggressive style of coaching, I think Cotto would have done a lot more down. Not saying he would have won, because that's a big thing to say against Mayweather, of course. But you can always, what I'm trying to say is about his good points is, like, he's always interested. He's always going to give it his all. He's got a crowd pleasing style, and he deserves all the credit he's been given, because I've seen like Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez recently come out and say good luck in your next fight and stuff, and your final fight, which is a nice show of respect. But the bad one's Miguel Cotto, I guess. Like I said, he's always lost like the bigger sort of fights in his career. I guess he can get sort of facial damage quite quickly, but sometimes if you're in big fights and wars like he's 37 years old. Name one fighter who can go all of his career and not look damaged after having 40 plus fights in his career, and massive world title fights as well. Like, that's a bit of a silly sort of thing to say for a bad point. I think a bad point probably be, like I said, lost some of his fights, but I mean, like, he's not shun away from anyone. Probably sometimes, because his style was so crowd pleasing and stuff, maybe like if other trainers that he had, previous trainers had, maybe tighten his defence up, I guess. But then again, Miguel Cotto is not a defensive minded fighter. He's a good boxer, and he's aggressive, and his aggressiveness it outweighs his defensive abilities, in my opinion. That's just what I think. But like I said, good luck to him in the future and stuff. He's been a great servant for boxing. I've really enjoyed all his fights. I mean, the two biggest fights I watched him in was obviously Pacquiao and Flamingo fighters, of course. And I'm not saying when I was watching this fight, I'll give him a shot here, because it's not just as easy as that. But Pacquiao fight, it was a bit more different because I knew Pacquiao was in his prime, a bit of a different scenario. The Mayweather fight, Mayweather was obviously getting older a bit more hittable after his comeback. But of course, sometimes it's easier done to beat a person like Mayweather. But that was a great performance, one of my favourite fights of his. If I would give him a favourite performance, I'd probably say the Tim Margarita fight, the rematch. I know it was a bit of an easy one to pick because Margarita was destroyed prior to this fight because of the Pacquiao fight where he I think he broke his orbital bone or something, or his eye, or his jawline, something along those lines. But that's just like a really satisfactory win. I know you should never sort of want a person to get hurt because it's boxing and bad things can happen, but when I watched that fight I was so happy for him, because even after, like sometimes you have all this big hype and stuff, and then after the fight happens they're all like happy and that. I remember in the interview after, Cotto you could tell he wasn't like jumping up and down screaming. You could tell in his face he was really happy about it because he got the win that he deserved the first time round. Who knows if he could have beat Margarita the first time round. Remember, that was a close fight from what I can remember at the time. Who knows if he could have beaten him if he didn't cheat or not. You can't say it now, but that's a great win for him and stuff. The worst loss I'd probably say the Pacquiao fight, as I said, because he took massive damage in that fight, and from then onwards it was all up and down in his career, because losing to Margarita is one thing, obviously, if you know that he's cheating, because you can still sort of focus on that, thinking the guy who beat me cheated to beat me, so I can still push on and make great strides in my career. But then to get mentally and physically beaten down like Pacquiao did to him takes a lot of courage, which he has. Never questioned it, ever. He's always had courage to go on and to fight the best and beat the best, which is always one of his things that he's done throughout his career, which the record clearly shows. But anyway, I'm waffling on a bit too much now anyway, so like I said, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and comment, and if you want to share it as well, you can. Sorry if the video's a bit wonky and that, but the new camera I got, like I said in my last video, is better quality and stuff, but because it's slightly heavier. The tripod I'm using isn't as good as my other tripod because it's missing the plate on my main tripod. I have to get a new one, so I'm using my basic one, and I don't think it can really hold the weight properly, so sorry about that if it is slightly wonky, but next time, hopefully soon I can replace it, then be a bit more straight as well. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in my next video.